Hello, everybody, and welcome to Drop In, Drop Out, a show where a mix of 7 gamers come together to talk about Keeper. And the spoilers are on for this conversation. We won't actually spoil right this moment, but we're going to get into spoiler territory very, very quickly because this game is actually very easy to spoil, come to find out. I am your host, Jake Twitchin, and that precious voice that you hear next to me is my favorite member. No, that's your bit. This is Patrick Schweiger. He's just the guy who works here.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, you're a little baby. Yeah, you're a little baby. We
Jake,
are live right now. Yeah.
This whole time, what if I told you we just recorded an episode of the Spotlight Games podcast? What if I told you this whole time I've been cooking a bag of peanut butter M&Ms? I've had them under my crotch this whole time to get them warm, so that now when I pop one into my mouth, it just melts instantly. You ever do that?
Barely a crunch.
Barely a crunch.
No. That's a bit from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? Where at the end, you ever watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Oh, it's been so long.
All right, one of my favorite lines is Ed Rooney, the principal, who kind of has his own little adventure where he's trying to catch Ferris in the act. Has to go back to the school in shame at the end when he's failed his mission. One of the last scenes in the movie, he has to get on the fucking school bus. And this little weird toothy kid looks at him. He goes, "You want a gummy worm?" Or something along those lines. And he goes, "They're warm from my pocket, just how I like." I don't remember the actual thing verbatim, but I remember this kid was really hyped to have heated up his gummy worms in his pocket. So
I don't
not
know
an uncommon thing
that I would fuck with heated up gummy worms, but Coal Mine's in the chat saying warm M&M's vile. One, you've obviously never tried a warm M&M, but two, like warm chocolate is a very sought after thing. So
oh yeah, true.
I think it just
also
it's great. Try
yeah,
it.
we don't take opinions from Coal Mines about food. This guy's off his fucking rocker. But if you wanted to be a regular that we made fun of on on air live, then you could join us at twitch.tv/dropindropoutpod or go to dropindropoutpod.com to find us elsewhere across the internet. I am live with Patrick to talk about Keeper tonight because this game took me by surprise. And I think we should start with some high-level thoughts about it before we get too deep. And maybe, I mean, we're equipped. We're a video game outlet.
Yeah.
Let's fucking review Keeper.
Let's review Keeper, Jake. Nothing's stopping me.
I'm interested to hear where you're at on it because I feel like I streamed my entire experience and I kind of piloted like I want to talk about Keeper live. So I think you know that I'm pretty hot on it. Where did you land? Are you in pretty heavily?
I explicitly chose on Spotlight Games when you shared your high level thoughts that it's maybe in your top 5. I didn't want to share my opinion. I wanted to save it for this moment because I unfortunately did not vibe super heavy with Keeper. And I'm hoping that this conversation convinces me that it's better than I think it is, because I think I was, and Kayla, we are not full spoilers out the gate. We're just doing high level thoughts right now. When this was announced during Summer Game Fest, it was one of my most exciting announcements of the show. I am just like you. I'm a Double Fine sicko. Psychonauts, one of the best games of the year it came out. Like I just love Double Fine and just about everything that they do. I love how weird they get, and I do love how weird Keeper is. I love that it's a massive swing. I think it's such a beautiful game. I think the art style is so infectious with how pretty it is. Like you can tell. Like I see the Dali inspiration throughout, but ultimately, I feel like, for me, the gameplay of this game, it's so funny hearing you say that you think it is what Sword of the Sea wanted to be, because there's especially one segment in this game that I won't talk about yet that I thought about Sword of the Sea, and I was like, man, I feel like they wish they could feel as good as Sword of the Sea does right now. And I think for me, ultimately, the thing that really held me back in this game is that I think the gameplay at best for me was good, and at worst was frustrating. And obviously it's a game that doesn't necessarily, it tries to transcend gameplay. It tries to tell a story and like make you feel and like that I do respect. But I think with how short the experience was and how much I kind of fought with it from time to time, I didn't land as high as I really wanted to on this game.
Interesting. A number.
I would, which like, it sounds like I'm talking shit, but I would still put this at like probably a solid 7, I think, out
7?
of 10.
Okay.
But if,
I'm
like
at
for me, it's outside my top 10 right now. It's probably in like the 14,
wow.
15 range.
Got you. I am. It's going to be one of those games where I do think it has some shortcomings for me, and it's not a perfect 10, but it will rank higher than games that I gave a higher review score to, if that makes
Interesting.
sense,
It
on my
does.
game of the year list. You know, it's that difference between like, this is my personal game of the year list, not what game I think is the best video game. It's my Jake Twitchin game of the year. And for Keeper, again, high level thoughts here. I think that I am infatuated with the way that Keeper was marketed and then released based on what it is and what was shown. And I think that it's really fascinating and maybe low key if you dig into it, and assuming that nothing goes horribly wrong and they don't close Double Fine tomorrow, one of the cooler things that Microsoft has done recently.
That I
Like
agree with.
in a fucking year of like Microsoft fumbling the bag terribly. Look forward to not this week's podcast, but next week's podcast for Microsoft's spookiest stories of 2025. I think that it's really cool that first party Microsoft put out a game like this. I'm happy about it. And I think I'm gonna give it a 9, if not
Okay.
maybe an 8.5. Maybe the 9 is recency bias, maybe like an 8.5. And I think it's gonna land solidly in my top 10, in my top 5. And there's a world where I'm trying to decide. I'm having a really hard time with my game of the year right now. My
Really?
opinion has changed many times, and I would say, like, as of right now, I don't know if my game of the year is this, Hades 2, Blueprints, or Donkey Kong Bonanza.
Sure.
Like, I love all of those games a lot for different reasons. I think it's gonna end up being fucking Blueprints, but we'll see when we get there. I won't make that decision lightly, of course. That's a
Yeah.
big deal, and you'll see more coverage of that in the coming months on Drop In, Drop Out. But I wanted to just talk a little bit about Double Fine before we get too deep too, because you talked about your affinity for them.
Yeah.
Have you seen Psych Odyssey in its entirety?
No, I haven't seen any of it other than like a tiny bit that I've seen you stream before. But I
Yeah,
purposefully, one because I hate you, I've purposefully not
right.
watched your streams watching it because I want to watch it. And anytime you're like so far into it in your streams that it's
Yeah.
like I want to start from the beginning. But no, I have not seen Psych Odyssey yet.
I have never been the short version of this. If you're listening to this, you're already probably in on Double Fine. And if you're not, the best thing that you could do is stop listening to this podcast and instead go watch a 30-hour documentary on the creation of Psychonauts 2, which encapsulates 7 years of footage taken from a first party, what would become a first party Microsoft studio. One of the, I would say it is the best depiction and I guess the best documentary about the creative process that's ever existed. It's unfucking believable what a product it is.
Yeah.
It is free. It's on Double Fine's YouTube page, and it took me from being a fan of that company to being over the moon about not only the work that they do, but their willingness to show the things behind the scenes that may or may not be too sweet. Like, there was drama. You know, this documentary is as wild as like a season of any television that you've ever watched, with its ups and downs and twists and turns. Really, really cool stuff. And I'm sure if you rewatch it now, you'd be able to see like the inklings of Keeper starting to exist there. I do see some, like, if you know, you know, like Amnesia Fortnite kiln DNA kind of in this game. Amnesia, I'm not going to go too far into the weeds, but every year Double Fine takes 2 weeks off of work completely. Everyone still shows up, but during those 2 weeks, they divvy up into teams and they have a game jam. It's called Amnesia Fortnite, where everybody gets to do whatever the fuck they want, and you can either pioneer your own project or hop onto somebody else's project, and you just make a 2 week passion project. And
That's
these
awesome.
games can sometimes be spun off. My guess is that this came from Amnesia Fortnite. This was somebody's, you know, project, and it spun off, and they were like, this is a game. They famously had one named Kiln that was kind of floating around, and I think people mistook this game for that game, where you made like a clay pot and then you baked it in the oven, and that became your playable character for
Mm,
like a kind of like a tower defense type of thing. But such a good name too, Amnesia Fortnite. Like, forget about what you're doing for 2 weeks. We're making new fucking video games.
that's
But you
awesome.
see concepts from Amnesia Fortnite become levels in Psychonauts 2. as well, which is super fucking cool. Like it is a really cool and really healthy thing to do, and it becomes a very cool thing to see over multiple years. Again, this is captured over 7 years.
Psych Odyssey is done, right? Like it's not actively still being produced that we know
All
of.
dropped all at one single time. There was one like bonus episode that came out like on its 1 year anniversary that kind of talked about like the reception of
Cool.
it. But yeah, that was shot from I think like 2015 through 2022. So it captures not only the release of Rhombus of Ruin, which is the Psychonauts VR game, the pitch and the crowdfunding of Psychonauts 2, so the start of development there. It has Double Fine being acquired by Microsoft after searching desperately for funding for their game
That's
for like
cool.
publishing, which is wild. So there's a lot of Phil Spencer and Matt Booty like showing up and shaking hands and like having tough meetings and stuff like that. And then it also really encapsulates, it's probably triggering to watch at this point, but those last few episodes include the fucking COVID transition
Yeah.
of like work from home and like the office emptying out in those like weird couple meetings where things are in flux and then everything kind of transitioning. It is really cool. It's very like meta in the way that that whole thing transpires too, about
Yeah.
like, well, how do we do a documentary now like on this part of the thing? And it's just an unbelievable fucking product. So just stay tuned for our fucking other Double Fine podcast about Psych Odyssey and how
Yeah.
much Patrick loves it, because when I started watching that, it just consumed a weekend. It's like 27 hours of footage or something like that over 33 parts of a documentary,
Yeah.
and
I need to get in on this.
it's a digital page turner. I can't stop watching that next episode. I need to know what happens next.
I know you're a Last of Us hater, but did you watch the Last of Us Part 2 Grounded documentary?
Not the part two. I watched the first one, and
Yeah.
I've watched Raising Kratos.
Yeah, that one's great too.
Um, and if
The
you like those, yeah,
the what made me think of it, they talk a lot about COVID during that too, because that
got it.
got into
Yeah, that makes
development.
sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I with this, with Keeper specifically, is there anything that they like, do you see any sort of Keeper in that documentary or no? Okay.
My best guess though is that like I think, and it's been a while since I've even laid eyes on it, is that there's this one game on Amnesia Fortnite that's pretty heavily featured, which led people to believe that maybe this game had legs and that was going to be spun off into like an actual title called Kiln. And Kiln had a very distinct art style as well, and I think that possibly that DNA maybe made its way into Keeper. I'm not sure. I would have to watch. What I hope is, and the reason why I got on this subject, I hope that the next fucking Double Fine documentary, Psych Odyssey Part 2, starts with, instead of Rhombus of Ruin, it starts with Keeper. And
Yeah.
at the same time, they're working on Psychonauts 3 or whatever their next like really big project is. Because this one was not led by Tim Schafer. Of course, he's like involved in everything, but this was their secondary team. And they do a lot of like, again, if you go and you look at like the way that the teams are divvied up and how things play out in Psych Odyssey, like the teams kind of transfer, and all of a sudden, like this character artist is over here now. We need him. This other game is picking up steam. He has to finish his work on this game. This one has to go to market. It's a whole thing, and I hope that we in one day get to do a follow up to this podcast and talk about the creative process that went
Yeah.
into creating Keeper, because I think it'll be fascinating.
I'm so interested to see, because I didn't even realize, I just never thought to look into it until the other day in the Discord, which you can join by going to dropinDropoutPod.com. Noah mentioning that this is not a Tim Schafer led project. I was like, oh, that makes sense in hindsight. Having at that point played about half the game, is like, oh yeah, this doesn't feel like a Tim Schafer Double Fine game. But before we start getting into
Yeah.
more kind of deeper thoughts, I do want to read a couple things from the Discord, because one of the fun
great.
things about the Discord when we record episodes like this, we ask for your thoughts and your opinions on the games that we're talking about. So I have a couple to read from today's prompt. Our own Kayla Gray, who has been in the chat, says, I haven't finished it yet, but I am loving it so far. Niche reference incoming. The work reminds me a lot of Pandora Avatar, which we were just talking about earlier on Spotlight Games, specifically in Disney
Niche.
World. Also, I think
Oh.
I think the Disney World version of Avatar. I also love the fixed camera. I think it works really well for the quirkiness of the game, which I agree with, which we can talk about the camera work as well. And then Coal Mines also has been in the chat, says some are saying Keeper is a Metroid Prime like. I don't understand that, but he put it in spoilers. Is that a stream joke?
I mean, I would say that there's the, like, if you break that game up into 4 gameplay section, the third one is kind of,
Oh, I see. Yep. Got it. I understand now.
Yeah.
And then Cog asks the question, where do Lighthouse and Bird fit in the great pantheon of Freakos? Of course, he means Twig, the bird
Twig. Hmm.
in Keeper, who I call Twink.
So, dude, why did it same? Why did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know why that happened, but Twig is Twink. So if you hear us talk about
2025.
Twink, then that's why.
Hmm.
But I think they probably land pretty high on the pantheon of Freakos, especially
Yeah.
Lighthouse.
Yeah, Lighthouse is great. I mean, yeah. All right, let's turn spoilers on
Yeah,
because we're
spoilers
starting to
on.
dance around things, which doesn't make sense for a spoiler cast. So, um, it's like arguably the Keeper is like not even about a lighthouse. Like I
Yeah,
don't even know if like Twink is a bird, baby Twig is a bird, and Keeper is a light. Like the actual like character itself is a light,
yeah,
and that light takes on many different forms, which is what I think is so amazing about this game. Um, because going back on why I'm so hot on this and why I think Microsoft took such a big swing here and why I mean, you could argue that this game has been marketed poorly. Like, it's not like we've seen this thing pop up on the front page of fucking like IGN with banners or anything like that. And, you know, it popped up at the Microsoft events and whatnot. And it has gotten this little push on Game Pass, which is now replaced 3 days later with Ninja Gaiden and the whole 9 yards. But in general, you know, this is a smaller title and it's being a little bit pushed out the door with no big fanfare, right? Not a big deal though, because in return, we got the opportunity to experience a game that we really only saw the first quarter of
yeah,
in marketing, which I think is so awesome to go into this game. And even on Drop In, Drop Out last week, we talked a little bit about first impressions of Keeper with Jerica. And Jerica and I left off at the exact same spot, which
really.
is when you finish like it's basically 2 hours into the game when you finish the last main lighthouse puzzle. You get out of that city, they throw the kind of little parade for you in the celebration. And we both ended our streams there separately because it felt like a natural stopping point for a couple hour like stream so that we could get our first impressions in. So we had that conversation. The conversation was so like, God, these puzzles are so good. The lighthouse is so awesome. It is like a walking sim, but you're kind of solving puzzles on like a diorama. And like we had not even experienced any of like the platforming that was going to come our way or any of the drastic changes that would pop up. It's so fucking cool. What do you think about what you saw versus what you played? Are you impressed with this as well?
I am, and like I think for me, going back to my overall thoughts at the beginning, I think my gripes mostly come with just like the feeling on the sticks, especially to jump ahead a little bit. I thought the when you are the I understand the Metroid Prime reference now. When you are just the light bulb as a wheel,
Yeah.
basically, I thought I had a lot of trouble with that sequence, and a lot of that I thought was very much like bordering on not fun, but
Oh wow.
I really did like the boat section a lot. I think the strongest section of the game is when you're the boat. But I remember like the first time I was like, you know, doing my thing where I like take notes as I go through in case we were going to have a spoilery conversation to kind of just like jog my memory on certain things that I like and that stood out to me. And that first lighthouse puzzle with time dilation, I was like, oh, okay, great. I love that. I'm
So
totally
sick.
good with like a game where you're just like walking and experiencing what they're showing you. But with how like up until that point, I was a little disappointed so far. Of like I was enjoying my time, but I
Mhm.
was like, man, I kind of just I don't know what I expected, but I expected something more than. And then we got the time dilation. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know what else they're gonna have up their sleeves, but I like that this game is like playing with itself and like introducing a pretty big new concept to the gameplay. But then what the first time when I became a boat, I was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. They did the thing where, you know, I can't think of another game off the top of my head that did this, but, you know, people have done this before where, like, they just show you a very early portion of the game the whole time. So, in a way, the real experience of this game is a spoiler, which I do love that as a concept in general, for sure.
Yes. I think the best example of that and the only one that I can really think of is like Here's the Kingdom. I think is probably
Mm-hmm.
the best example. Like they pitch, they're like, "Wow, these fucking sky islands, and you have all of Hyrule, pretty crazy, huh?" And then you get in and with 3 hours, you're fucking underground, and there's an entire third map that's bigger than the top map that they added. It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd say Hades too as
but yeah,
well.
I think it's a. I would agree. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Hades does a great job. Um, that's a good point. That's like the holy trinity
Yeah.
of things kind of escalating. But yeah, I think that this is a game that escalates further and further as you go in really cool and meaningful ways because the time dilation thing was a really good indicator for me of like, oh yeah, I like where this fucking thing is going. Like adding that, like you start off and you're just kind of solving puzzles. You're retrieving things and you're sending the bird to operate some cranks and you're grabbing whatever MacGuffin to put into whatever slot and keep it popping, right? And then you get to the time dilation thing, and the first thing you do is you go back in time
Yeah.
and you turn the bird into an egg, which allows its weight to push levers down. And I'm like, this is a cool fucking mechanic. And they take it a step further, and you can now move time forward, where the bird is dead, and now it's a fucking
I
spirit,
love
and
that.
you can like push the bird through like grates and things that were no longer there. And then all at the same time, you're changing the environment around you. It's just a very cool concept in general. And I was like, okay, I found the main mechanic of this game. It's this time dilation thing. And I thought that's where we were going for this. And in fact, it ends up being so much more. And that's where I get really hot on the game. So let's go through maybe step by step
Yeah. I
and
will
just
say
kind of
just
talk about these
another
sequences.
thought on that real fast with the
Sure.
time stuff. I think I was disappointed that the time was just a part of one puzzle. I thought that time was going to be like a bigger motif throughout, and I was a little disappointed that it ended up just being the one puzzle because jumping into a little bit of what this conversation is probably going to go of like I was saying that my favorite section was the boat section just because of how good the boat felt. But I think the actual like puzzle mechanics of the boat left a little to be desired compared to the puzzle mechanics of the lighthouse because the like just finding your little buddies to then like lift the thing up. I was like, sure that is something, but I yearned for there to be more of the time type stuff throughout the game. Did you have that the experience at all?
No, not
No.
really. And the only reason is because I think I am like a big. I think I'm a little bit of a. I'm not the rule. I'm the exception when it comes to like the way that I play video games, especially the way that I stream video games. They call me the fucking short stream bandit. I play a little of a lot and a lot of a little. And I love when a game doesn't overstay its fucking welcome.
Sure.
And I think that if at any point we embellished any of these sections any further, the game would have overstayed its welcome.
Fair.
I maybe, arguably, we could have done a little bit more horse at the end.
I
But
do agree.
even still, I still think very, very strong in the way that nothing ever gets stale. And right as you hit your stride and you do the coolest thing that you could do in that form,
That's a
you
good
hit the
point.
next form and you're learning new shit. And I think that is, I think it's important to know when to hold them and when to fold them. And they did that expertly there,
I
you
love
know?
that.
So I would say that this game is sort of like broken up into 6 sections. I'm going to
Six.
say.
Okay.
I think 6. I think the first one is like your prologue and your standard walking around solving puzzles as the lighthouse.
Okay.
Your second is lighthouse time dilation.
Yep.
Your third is lighthouse platforming with the cloud.
Fair.
Your fourth is boat,
Yep.
which is the biggest standalone chunk, if you ask me. The fifth is wheel / morph ball, Metroid Prime. And then the sixth, which is very small, is horse.
Yeah.
And ending. And I am so fucking fond of the way that they kind of escalated because truthfully, I liked each one more and more. I
Really?
loved the wheel section. I'm so excited to kind of go back and forth with you on this a little bit. And I think it comes from one of my weird, obscure favorite fucking things in the world in video games is, and this is a weird one, man. Stay with me.
I'm staying.
It stems from Marble Madness on the NES.
Okay.
One of like the 8 games that I had growing up as a kid. I don't know how this ended up in my fucking collection, but my dad or mom purchased me Marble Madness at one point or another. Do you know this game?
I know of it. I'm about to pull some B-roll because I don't know it well.
It is like an isometric view marble roller where you just roll your marble and you use like momentum and loops and fucking launch pads and stuff to get from one end to the other. And there's obstacles and there are gaps to jump and there are enemy marbles that try to take you out. I love rolling some shit around in a marble game. And this genre has existed for a long time. God, I remember this fucking level like the back of my hand. This is the fucking first one. I was stuck here for so long. Marble Madness rules. I'm gonna stream that soon. We then see Marble Madness is like the only good example of that for me and my personal history until we get to Monkey Ball. Monkey Ball
Mm.
carries that torch for a long time for me. And then you see a little bit of it. Do you remember the Xbox Live Arcade games when we had there was a game called Marble Blast Ultra in that first like summer of arcade thing? It was like along there with like Splosion Man or Missplosion
Oh
Man
yeah, I do remember
or
Marvel Blast Ultra now.
there's like a fucking Shadow Complex. Is that the name of that game?
Shadow
Am
Complex,
I
yeah.
making this up?
No, yeah, you're not.
It's like a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marble Blast Ultra rules. There was a spiritual successor called Marble and Up Ultra that came out a couple years ago that still has servers online if you like rolling marbles. And this felt right at
I
home there.
I don't know that I agree with that. That this section of the game fits into the like I feel like the Monkey Ball, the Marble Blast, the Marble Madness is a different feeling of gameplay than what we did in Keeper. I feel like
A little bit.
because it was much more about like getting from point A to point B and then like doing things in a successive order versus like staying in bounds. I felt, which I feel like that's the main mechanic of these games is the staying in bounds of it all.
I think I got lost pretty heavily in the place where there was like 8 bowls
Man, I hate
where
that. I was so fucking pissed with that section.
I figured it out pretty quickly. I got there. I ran into an issue. And the reason why I think of it like that is because the biggest issue that I had was like a platforming issue there where like I where you needed to end up going is you kind of go up the left, I think, and you have to kind of go around this curve and launch yourself up to the next level. And then you kind of you go right first, then you go left and you go right, and you sort of seesaw your way up to the top and then activate a thing. And that's what kind of pushes you through to the next area or,
Sure.
gives you the fire to unlock the next door. And I had gone to that area twice and I had fucked up the platforming. And I was like, okay, I think this is an exit, not an entrance. And I'm trying to go up a down ramp right now. And that wasn't the case. So I had to circle back and go there. But that kind of like gaining the momentum and trying to figure out like how to maneuver my ball up that thing or going down and keeping the like speed up so that I could kind of jump out of the bowl and head towards the door was really fun to me and kind of harkened back to that. And I think that my same love for the marble games
Yeah.
is what makes me love that part.
I
Is my
think the
guess.
part that the reason that like if I were to do a tier ranking of the sections of Keeper, I
Sure.
would put Lighthouse at like B tier. I would put Boat at A tier. I would put Marble Madness Metroid Prime at like F tier for me, honestly. And then I would put
Wow.
Horse
Okay.
at like D tier only because they didn't do enough with Horse.
Not
But
much of it.
and I think a
What
really
about
big
what about Lighthouse, Flying Lighthouse?
Flying Lighthouse, see, I kind of keep those in the same, but I will say that I
Sure,
would
that's fair.
if we're breaking them apart, I would put that at A tier as well. I did like the
fucking
jumping. I I was pretty disappointed when they took away the jump when they had given it to me. But I think my issue with rolling Keeper is I think Lighthouse section and Boat section did a pretty good job of balancing the their ability to like show you where you need to go, the signposting as it were of like, okay, this is like the area that you haven't been to yet. Like I think of the Boat section specifically where okay, I see one of these like giant infected arm things in the water. So a solution is over there for sure. And I feel like where they really, for me, failed in the rolling section was especially the one that section you mentioned, that like almost pinball area where you would have to then keep like resetting the stage. It was so unclear to me what they wanted in that section. And then also the part where there's like at the end of it there's that really deep bowl and you get the flame on the 3 sides and you have to get all 3 flames together to then open the door. I pushed against that door probably 30 times before I
Same.
realized I needed to get a third thing. And that's the kind of thing where, for me, that was a very frustrating game experience where usually they were pretty good about trying to convey to me what I needed to do. And I thought that section, more than once, did a bad job of conveying the goal. And for me, it wasn't fun to figure out the goal. It was frustrating to figure out the goal. So I think that is why, honestly, if this game was just Lighthouse, Boat, and Horse, I would probably land in the like 8 to 8, 5 to 9 range. But it's actually
Interesting.
really soured me on the experience.
Shout out to my chat and the advantage of playing things live, because I also didn't really know what to do there. And the third thing that you're talking about, because you trying to get into that door, was to go that other direction and to go up that crazy ramp thing to activate
Yeah.
the third fucking beacon that allows you to fucking increase your thing. And it was my chat that brought up to me that like I wasn't getting enough of the fire things, because each time you activated it would give you another color aura, and you needed that color aura to get through that colored door.
Right.
And they were like, you're pink, not blue, you need to activate another thing. And I was like, fuck, you're right.
Yeah.
And
I didn't have
you know,
chat. I was just right there on that bed playing on this TV,
yep,
and I had no
I
idea.
hear you, I hear you. W chat, W baby. um
W baby, W birth canal.
W birth canal. My biggest stop was during the final like big puzzle where you were trying to get all the whales together, the whale creatures, I guess,
Oh,
whale
yeah.
turtle boys,
Yep.
where it's like the most open that the entire game gets. You're in a pretty wide area where you can kind of backtrack. It's like a big sea and they all kind of connect. And I had done the thing where I had grabbed some of the little what do they call them, like life preserver boys, the guys that are in those little round tubes and they're kind of like inflate and get you
Yep.
from one thing to another. And I just couldn't find the fucking last thing. I thought I was backtracking, but I wasn't, and there was a place that I hadn't explored, so I was just fucking fishing around for 20 minutes. It felt like a jackass. But overall, no stoppers, and no time did I get like super frustrated with any of it. I was all just kind of fucking happy to be here, because I found the vibes so pleasant and so varied. I was just excited to see what was around the next corner. And just, I mean, one of the things that we talked about the art direction, but I think this is a fucking such a pretty game, man. And
Yeah.
there are so many times. I guess we can dig into the camera a little bit here
Yeah.
too, because I think this is a marvel of fixed camera.
I think so
Or it's not
too.
even like a fixed camera. It's just like a non-controllable camera. The camera is dynamic as fuck.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it points you in the right direction, you know?
Oh, sure. Yeah, especially in the lighthouse section when
Yeah.
it's like a hinged camera where you'll come into an area from like the left and it'll like kind of follow you, and then it's like, oh, okay, yep, I must
Yes.
need to go that way. It's especially helpful in that section.
Yep.
There were a couple times that I would get a little, not frustrated, but it would get a little wonky.
Hmm.
But that's just, the nature of like a fixed camera. But I had the old school Resident Evil situation where
Yeah.
I would go into I'd come from like the top corner, start coming down, and then the angle kind of changes on me. And so then all of a sudden I'm walking the other way or whatever like that. But it's like,
It's a fucking
by the end of
Final
it,
Fantasy X classic.
yeah, by the end of it, I, figured it out and it was fine. I think ultimately it was probably a stronger choice to have it fixed than to have it not, because also I think to kind of start digging into a little bit of I think what they're trying to say with this game. I think, this might sound a little woo woo, but I think the fixed camera to me also kind of serves the kind of metaphor of the game of like this being stuck in this world that is, of whatever it is, whether it's pollution or unclear. I think it's up to interpretation on purpose, but this kind of like in multiple ways this game has you stuck, and I think
Hmm.
that worked for me a lot too, of like kind of mirroring, or not mirroring, but marrying, there we go, the
Marrying?
story
Mm.
of and gameplay of it all. I thought worked for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good way to think about it. I never didn't think about that myself. I didn't get as deep as you did on that. That's a very interesting point, but I think my favorite part about it, and this is just the fucking low hanging fruit here, is they do the thing. Okay, I'm going to tell you, I don't even need to say it. You know, the shot in Journey,
Oh yeah.
the camera fucking goes sideways and you're
Hmm.
gliding down that golden trail and you kind of see like the golden sunset and you're going past the pillars. When the camera does that at any point, I'm such a sucker for it in fucking games. And it does that like 20 times in this game, where you'll just like roll into a corner and the camera will fucking like pull out and then you'll cross a bridge from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, or you will go past a waterfall and the camera will fucking pan out and just kind of go up into a corner and give you a really wide view, and your perspective of the whole area changes and you see the entire vista. So many fucking incredible moments, and like, just you could pause the game at any of those moments and they'd make a beautiful piece of art to hang on your wall, and it's such a fucking marvel in that way.
There was.
I think it's
Oh, no, sorry, keep going.
I was just gonna say, I think it's I'm gonna search the name. I think it's Lee Petty. I think his first name's Lee for sure. Is the director of this game, who was the art director of like Brutal Legends and
Well, there you
Psychonauts and
go.
Broken Age. It is, and it's like such an art first game
Yeah.
that you can tell that it was developed in that way. Like this was all very much the visual direction was concrete before the gameplay was,
There
for
was
sure.
a moment specific, like when you talk about the kind of like every frame is art kind of thing. There was a moment in the lighthouse section. I'm seeing if it's on my phone from the Xbox app. But it is your when you are the lighthouse and you are walking up a path into another bigger lighthouse that is lit, and it does the backlighting on you, and so you can't see any detail about your own lighthouse. You're just like an outline shadow at that point, and you're walking into this lighthouse that's 10 times your size. I was like, I fucking love Double Fine, man. Like just like the
Yeah,
visuals that they make and the way that they kind of catch your eye in that way is just such a it's not unique to Double Fine per se, but it's a Double Fine-ism of like making
for
sure
sure.
that these kinds of things that it's more than just a game. It's like they want to make you think and kind of activate those like art receptors in your brain of looking at it and from a different angle and from a different lens, which I appreciate when they do that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's like the most visual, I would say, lineage that you could trace here is, I feel like it's kind of has some Broken Age in it as far as like the
Yeah,
color palette goes,
I agree.
where it's like a generally kind of like greenish bluish game, but it has splashes of every color, and it kept it so interesting throughout the entire thing. And I think that's why I recommend this game to people that enjoy Journey and enjoyed Sword of the Sea and enjoy Abzu. And I think it might be the closest example of one of those games that's not from Giant Squid or that game company, as far as like it's a puzzle game, walking sim type of thing,
Sure.
where, but it's like a, visually stunning type of thing,
Yeah.
where it's really putting that thing first, which is great. I think that they do a great job there. We talked at length about the lighthouse section, the ball section, the boat section was your favorite.
I think so, and I think part of it was I think that was for me is when I started to kind of understand what they were trying to tell me with this game. It got a little bit more on the nose with, oh, I see, we are kind of de-gunkifying this world. We're getting this like darkness, cursed thing purified and that kind of thing with our light. And because also that section has a few puzzles that are specifically with the like I don't know, like light warts on this giant creature thing of unlocking a part of the area to have its own lighthouse section thing, get that to show on one of the like warts, and then you as the lighthouse boat also pointing up your thing. And I feel like it also did a couple things throughout that spiced up the gameplay a little bit, and they weren't like the journey moments like you were mentioning of painting the camera, but the like almost journey moments of having there be like a pseudo set piece of the time that you're like taken underwater with the boat, or the time at the kind of the very end of the boat section when you are all of a sudden the camera is behind you and you are chasing the creature down this like waterfall type area, and you're like dodging his fucking branches or whatever.
It's sick. Yeah.
Like those are the kinds of moments for me. I feel like the highest highs of Keeper for me were in the boat section. And I don't feel like there were any super low lows, because also I was lucky in that I didn't have any of those like I feel lost in the boat section.
Mhm.
But I could see if I did have that and I didn't just happen to come across all of the different blow up companions, I would have been pissed, especially then
Yeah, it
following
was
it with
just
the ball section.
It was just the biggest sandbox that I got lost in, and I didn't mind being lost at any point in the game, though. I
Yeah.
got a little redundant, and I was like, "Fuck me, I look like a fucking idiot here." But there was a lot of like chatter. Like I love sharing this with like a live audience because people that may not be interested in the game get kind of interested, and they look at it and they're like, "Is this the fucking lighthouse game from yesterday?" I'm like, "Yeah, dude, I'm a fish boat now."
Yeah.
And they're like, "That's fucking
Wait a
sick." Like,
second. Yeah.
yeah, it is really cool. As we start to kind of close things out, I wanted to talk about a really cool thing that this game does that I don't think I've ever fucking seen before, and something that we haven't talked about is this game has no dialogue
Yeah.
whatsoever. It has a few button prompts where it'll tell you like press B to tap or A to like run or
There were a few
dash or
kind of
whatever.
sexual ones. There was press A to dock. There was also use the
That's
left
right.
stick to tug. I thought about you on that
That's
one.
okay. Yes, of course I would hope so, and the docking part, I would assume. But there is some lore to be extracted. Did you find any special lore?
I don't think so. What did I
Well,
miss?
I would urge you to check your achievement list
Huh?
because the achievements give you the fucking story of this game a
No
little bit more
way.
explicitly. Now, I beat the game and I only unlocked 5 achievements. So I think that there's more to get in things that take place in between. Because if I look at the sequential 5 achievements that I get for staying on the main path, the percentage of gamers that unlocked this gets increasingly small until I get to the last one, where I have 39% unlocked it, 14% unlocked it, 6% unlocked it, 4% unlocked it, and then back to 7% unlocked it with the final achievement. So I think I have one bonus achievement. Well, let me read to you the ones that I have. The first
Yeah.
achievement that I got was called Echoes of the Brim. Under the mountain eye, creatures of stone rose to cast molten seawalls to keep the wither at bay. Do we have like a proper name
Sure.
for the wither?
Okay, I'm turning
The
my Xbox on
plight.
because I want to see my achievements that I got.
Yeah, good. My next achievement is the Knight's Rebuff. Notice, capital N, Nodus, required the help of a mobile agent to stabilize time and repel the Wither's advance. So I believe our keeper, our character, is named Notice,
Okay.
is what I'm taking from that, which I kind of like. He's like a little node, a little light node. Our third is Guardians of the Sea. Massive emplaced hybrid organisms cast light on the Wither's vulnerability with powerful beams. Our fourth is the Nucleus. The Nucleus sent its withering extremities to absorb and devour all to sustain its hollow life. And then the final is called the Keeper. Though the Keeper was gone, so too was the Wither. Life flourished anew. So sick.
How about that?
I love having that shit behind
I
achievements.
have 8 achievements.
Oh, nice.
So I didn't totally take in all of the achievements that you just said because I realized I moved my Xbox, but I have it on PC. So Echoes of the Brim, I remember you saying, notice the time conductor you said. Knight's Rebuff, did you say?
Notice the time conductor I don't have.
Oh,
I
you
have
don't?
Echoes of the Brim, Knight's Rebuff, Guardians of the Sea.
Oh, I don't have Guardians of the Sea. So, okay, so I have Echoes of the Brim, and then notice the conductor says, the last of the Time Elders was not exempt from the Wither's grasp, and time was destabilized. So that was, I guess, something with the time dilation situation.
The lighthouse area. Yep.
Did you have Whist, Tick, and Cog?
I did not.
So this is the Elders manipulated time to slow the Wither's tireless advance, and it worked, ... for a while. Did you have the Nucleus?
I do have the Nucleus. Yep.
Wasted Evolution?
No.
The Wasted fused with other creatures to extend the reach of their searing beam. It was not enough. I think this was in the water section.
That makes sense.
The Mountain Eye lives, I think you said you had?
I did not. Hit me with that one.
Shit. The Keeper awakened as the Wither failed, bound to restore life beyond this place.
Ooh,
And then the
I love
Keeper
that.
is the last one. So though the Keeper was gone, so too was the Wither. Life flourished anew. How about that? I never thought once to read the description of the fucking achievements.
Isn't that really slick?
I like that a lot.
I love it. It's a really cool use of achievements, and I don't often see achievements used in like a cool or unusual way.
Yeah. So it seems, from what I
They're usually
remember,
pretty straightforward.
a lot of the achievements you gather from those little like off the beaten path reconstructing the statues. So similar to,
Yes.
again, Sword of the Sea, of like getting those story
Yep.
bits in the little, I don't remember what they're called, the little statue things, but
Sure. Go
so
check
how,
out our
yeah,
spoiler cast on that.
yeah, there you go. How interesting. There's I for the only time I thought about crossover was when, oh yeah, because I didn't say this earlier, in the ball section, when I kept
Hmm.
going up the fucking thing and I couldn't make my, even before I didn't figure out that I had to have 3 different flames first. I just couldn't even make it there, and I was like, man, I remember specifically like Phil in the community talking about how there were just times that Sword of the Sea just didn't feel good, and it didn't feel like I could
Mm.
do what the game wanted me to. And I was like, I'm having this exact moment with Keeper right now where I feel like I'm trying to do what this game wants me to do and I just can't do it. And it's not, I don't think it's a
Mm.
skill issue. I think it's just camera stuff and like it just not feeling
Yeah.
right. But and then here we are with like the 7th connection that we've felt with
I
Giant
know.
Squid and that game company.
So fucking cool. Here's the deal. I hope that we get some comments and some engagement on this, because that was my favorite part. I love doing a spoiler cast in the conversation about these larger or these smaller titles that are a little bit more obscure and a little bit more of like a thinker. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we can talk about fucking Pokemon and Zelda, but there's not a whole lot to like delve into there unless you want to watch an hour long essay on like the secret meaning behind the Twilight Princess. But like I love when people jump in and sort of like further our conversations or help us think through some of the thoughts that we started having. So if you're listening to this or watching this, first of all, fucking like and subscribe, find us somewhere else. But also leave a comment or hop on if you're listening to it. Go to YouTube and leave a comment. That's usually where the conversation goes. And add some more insights. Did we miss some achievements? Is there
Sure.
some lore, some connections that we're not seeing? That is truly my favorite part of having these conversations, is extending them after the fact and seeing what people that are far smarter than you or I come up with, which is always a good time. Not to
Yeah.
loop you in on my
Well,
intelligence level, but
I mean, I
yeah.
mean, we can. One thing that I didn't talk about that I kind of, in terms of like trying to unpack the meaning of Keeper, I haven't quite gotten to the bottom of it, but I did like this kind of implication because it seems that the Wither, as we've learned, it's called this like corrupted whatever of this
Right.
world.
The Wither, or as I like to call it, the Republican Party.
There
No,
we
I'm just
go. There we go. W's for Jake. W baby. Um, I thought there. I feel like so often there's this like, because of global warming and like like corporate waste and shit like that. There's often it's like nature versus that, and I thought it was interesting to see this game almost tackle not the reverse, but this like man-made thing, the lighthouse and the light specifically on the lighthouse, it being the thing that is helping Twig and its child or
mm,
brother or whatever kind of restore life to how it once was, because there's the obvious like metaphor of a lighthouse helps the boats in the sea, at
right.
night not fucking run into each other or run into rocks or whatever. So naturally, the kind of given circumstance of a keeper or of a lighthouse is to like guide and help in times of need. So that get at the surface of that, but I liked
Hmm.
that kind of, oh, like that question it asks of like, what could this seemingly magic infused light do to help the natural creatures of this world deal with this larger than life force that is holding it back and
Sure.
affecting the ecosystem and stuff like that. I really vibed with that a lot in this game.
Yeah. I'm glad we talked about this because you are a little bit more philosophical um than I am on it. You know,
Yeah.
I think like I didn't go as deep as to think about it. I just kind of thought of like, trying to inhabit an uninhabitable world type of
Yeah. Yeah.
vibe
Yeah.
was kind of what I was getting from it. And then obviously like the surface stuff of, obviously we've got like, the journey of Twig and the family and like the easy, like it's like a fucking Disney Pixar type of story of like the dropping the birds off with the rest of the crew. We finally
Yeah.
got them home. They don't want to leave. The keeper has the fucking little like eyebrow that looks sad real quick, and they give him a hug and
And
leave.
oh, the
And all the
hug,
straightforward
Jake.
stuff
Oh,
is
the
so good.
hug.
It's so sweet.
Yeah.
It really is so sweet. And then the kind of like last triumph alone as like that Pegasus type horse thing that you transform into,
Hmm.
taking those big strides, those big jumps, and eventually ascending the mountain and becoming, I don't know, the keeper of the mountain, the waypoint of that. I don't know. I didn't really for a spoiler cast, maybe I should have drawn some better connections, but I went
Maybe,
in raw.
maybe. Fucking
I'm sure our comment section will fucking rake me over the coals and come up with some better ideas and tell me what I should think.
I'm sure
I'm
they will.
always looking to be told what to think. Everyone knows that about me. But in the meantime, I think that you should subscribe, you should come find us on a different network. If you like what we're doing here, come check us out live at Drop In Dropout Pod on Twitch. Go to dropindropoutpod.com and give us a follow on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter or fucking Blue Sky or Threads, or there's nowhere that we are not, except Kick, which we'll keep it that way. As of right now, that's it for our talk on Keeper. Hey, listen, maybe Jericho and Caleb finish it up and they want to try about it too. I'm down. Let's dig in a little bit further. But that does it for us. Patrick, thank you so much for joining me on a
Of
game that
course.
I'm way hotter on than you. But we
I'm
still had such a good conversation
I'm
about it.
warmer on it now. I think I would at least bump it up to a 7.5 from our conversation. But
Ooh,
which isn't the biggest bump, but maybe an 8. I'm gonna say 8 actually, because this game does a
yeah,
lot of good shit too. I think
for sure.
not expected. I hoped that it would just like blow my fucking nuts off, and it would be like, of course
No,
this is game of the year, but it wasn't quite that for me.
no. But it's such a nice little piece of game. I love my time with
Absolutely
it so
worth
much,
playing,
and
100%.
yeah, I will look back on this time very well spent. I will think of that game fondly, and I will
Yeah,
likely replay it every couple of years the same way that I do Journey and Abzu.
there you go.
Very dope. This is the part where we end the podcast. We wave at the camera until the show ends.
W baby.
Bye. Thank